you today?
I'm great.
Thank you so much for coming in short notice.
Yeah, that's absolutely fine. Happy to come.
Well, I thought I'd have you in today to find out a bit more about what you do. In your blog, it says you're a technologist.
It
But
does.
What else? Like, what is that?
Technologist is a term which basically means that you focus on the future of technology and how to apply that technology to today's problems. So it's more of a generic term, which I use because I have a varied career and I'm involved in lots of different stuff. So to actually give it more of the broad covering, that's why I use that term, technologist.
But you're sort of known for the Metaverse on the Gold Coast.
I'm known, for blockchain stuff on the Gold Coast. I'm the organizer of the Blockchain Gold Coast Meetup, and that's actually been going since 2017. I didn't start in 2017, I wasn't even here on the Gold Coast, but I've taken it over and then run those monthly. And then I'm also involved in a couple of NFT projects. I'm an advisor in a couple of DeFi, other crypto projects, and then I'm also the co-founder of AMES, which is a media business in and around NFTs. So that's us on social media. Oz NFT Network on Twitter and so forth. So yeah.
Super busy. So
Yeah.
tell me a bit more about the people out there that don't know. What is the Metaverse?
So the Metaverse has got lots of different names. Like the big thing we'll see and you will have heard in the media is around Facebook and their rebrand to Meta and their approach to try to like own this Metaverse. And they're redefining the Oculus Quest, which is like the VR experience stuff, to try to like own that space. And they're trying to bring a platform where they're going to take 40% of all sales through the Meta platform, which I think is a bit excessive, to be honest. Like the app stores, if anyone knows, that's about 30%. I think that's too high. But to come in about 40-45%, I think is a bit of a killer. But they do make the best headsets. So when we're talking about like the virtual experiences, the Oculus Quest, which is a headset without requiring a computer, it's still the best on the market.
It's version 2 now, isn't it?
It's version 2 now, the white one. So I've got the 1 and I've also used the 2. But you can see the technology is getting there. You can start to see that the experiences, so what you used to have, anyone who's done VR and you've tried like a Google Cardboard or one of these other older headsets, you had a lag that when you turned your head, the phone would just be ever so slightly out. And that led to motion sickness. So a lot of people felt a bit ill and they didn't have a great experience, especially if you had something that moved around a lot. And Oculus and some of the other suppliers as well, they've spent a lot of time trying to reduce that lag time as much as possible. So I think now it is an experience where it's good enough. And if you haven't tried VR, I would recommend that you try the current generation before sort of talking about it. And if you're here on the Gold Coast, you've got like Zero Latency, which is down in Southport, which have like a VR gaming platform. So you don't have to go out and buy a computer. You can just go there and play one of the games, which is like, so if you're going to go check it out and you want to try it out, there's something like that. I think it's a good idea rather than forking out. I think it's like $700 at the minute for one of those. And they sell those devices at a loss because what they really want to do is get that app store going and sort of understand the value that Apple and Google have in the stranglehold of the marketplace over the phones, and Facebook and Meta really want to do that over VR. So you'll hear that a lot, and they have this thing called Horizons, which is like their virtual experience. And that's like you're all going into this shared world. Now, that's like the Metaverse as you'll come from the mainstream, which is very much around the gaming aspect. And I think there's something there because there's already like VR chat systems and so forth where people pick a character and they run around and they hang out, basically like Roblox for adults. So that exists today. But what we start to see with the Web3 is that ownership model coming in. Rather than it just being a game, you can actually own your assets and you can resell them and so forth. So we start to see the move towards an NFT, which is a digital asset on the blockchain. It is a proof of ownership of some type of asset. What we normally see is like these PFPs, picture profiles, which are basically a brand and a community that you're buying into. And we think that this might be the underpinning to have an interoperable universe. So rather than having like one Facebook metaverse that everyone comes into, I think we're going to have more like a Doctor Strange multiverse where you're going to like go from one metaverse to the next metaverse. And it's by trying to bring assets with you that are interchangeable. So let's say I've got like my own theme tune. So I can then, when I come into a game that serves as my tune, that can come with me from game to game to game, and some other sort of characteristics around it. But I would say that the metaverse as we know it is more of a concept rather than an actual place or an actual system. And a lot of people have different interpretations of what that means. But I would say if you're already using Zoom and you do remote phone calls and your kids are playing on Roblox or Minecraft, they're already in the metaverse or in the beginning of the metaverse. And it's sort of like a comprehension of what it can become. But if we want to like think about the most futuristic version of that, there's a film called Ready Player One, and a book about this protagonist who tries to like unlock these games, and then through that they get keys, and then those keys become the ownership of the company. And if you think about it, those keys are basically NFTs, and those NFTs are basically the shares of the company. So in collecting the 3 keys, you gets to unlock the box and gets to own the company, and those are unlocked inside the game. Now it is a fictional movie, but it does sort of paint a future where people are like collecting stuff, they're doing things in game, there's a marketplace, and there's almost like moving from game to game to game. And I'd still say it's a bit in that singular metaverse concept. But the reality is that if you want to think like what can it be, that's a really good representation and like a visual representation. That's a pretty good movie if you like your 80s references. Steven Spielberg's got a bunch of Iron Giant and Jurassic Park dinosaurs and stuff in there. So you start to already see that. Even like just this week, I think it was yesterday, Rugrats, which was a Nickelodeon cartoon, released an NFT collection. So we start to see like existing IP companies bringing their assets to the metaverse, and then we're going to be looking at developers and other people to bring those assets in a meaningful way, so you can continue to experience them in a shared space with other people.
Well, I just created my first NFT this week, a couple of days ago, so that was pretty exciting. But if we talk about businesses in Australia or around the world, how can they use the metaverse going forward to increase their sales, to make their company more profitable, to build and scale their business using the metaverse?
There's a couple of different businesses and how they can approach different stuff. Like there is a reality where we used to have the footfall traffic, and it was all about where your store was in meat space in the real world. But we have a lot of people inside Australia who are not necessarily in a city centre. Like we're here on the Gold Coast, but if you look at it across the rest of just Queensland, there's a lot of people in the regions that just don't have access. And the ability to have this shared virtual world, which is still in its nascent steps, will enable to have like a Times Square experience that people in remote areas will now be able to have access to. So you do see a lot of speculation around people buying land with inside some of this. So you got Decentraland, Sandbox, and you've got Crypto Voxels, which is over in New Zealand. They're all like selling blocks of land, and then you're building stuff in those land. So I'm starting to see people doing shops and stores and art galleries, and I was involved in making one in Crypto Voxels. So you can start to show your artwork and you show your digital products off. Now, whether or not it's fully commercialized at this point that I'd say people want to spend a lot of money in, I'm not sure. But there are a lot of companies having conversations about, they see the wave coming, they see this innovation that's coming to their shores, and they're like, how can we prepare to take advantage of this? So for example, I know some fashion brands who brought people on to focus on their NFT strategy. Like, how can we use NFTs? How can we use like virtual runways, etc.? So you can come and have this sort of experience where I'm not at the Miami show, but I can experience something similar to that from my house in Kombucha. And I think that will create, these deeper brand associations, which means you'll get more deeper relationships, which means you'll probably get more transactions with your customers, rather than it being at the start a fully transactional thing where you're just putting up shop. I think it's more about brand value, with your, turning a fan into turning a supporter into a fan into a supporter, then a supporter into a client, and a repeat client. So I think that's probably where it's going to be, at least in the short term, until some of these marketplaces are opened up, and then we have other opportunities. But one thing I have seen is there are people who are now doing designs and building for other people. So let's say I'm a busy business but I want to have like my spot in the metaverse in one of these paid locations, and I want to be where the cool people are. Then I will get someone else to design me a building, and then another person to construct and do the interior design and like figure out where they're going to put everything, all in a digital space. And like this is a real economy where people can get real money to deliver these stuff inside a world. And I think that just starts to show you what's capable as we move towards there.
And it can be any, like there's nothing stopping you from creating the most amazing thing. You're not constrained with actual physical land and space and time.
Well, it depends on the metaverse space you want. So you've got ones that are basically like portals, and they don't have like restrictions behind a portal, and you've got these other ones that are physically constrained spaces. So you can only build inside like a 3-dimensional space. But they are like your Decentraland and your Sandbox, and they are some of the most highly speculative ones. You got like a Snoop Dogg section in Sandbox, which is a bit like Roblox, but a little bit blocky. But you're starting to see larger brands going there, and you've got like Nike and Gucci and all these sorts of large brands. SpaceX are all starting to like put their place in here, and I feel like you'll see more and more of that over time. And I think you will start to see commerce sections, just like you see in cities, where you have, you know, like the fashion section of the city. You might have like other parts, and then there's some other ones I've seen that's very focused on like art and art sales, and like I think there's a lot of opportunity in there, but we're just so early. There's no definitive mechanism at this point. There's just like a massive opportunity space that's available for people, for these first movers to actually take advantage. But like in a commercial sense, you know, that it's still a digital product. But I have started to see people using NFTs for redemptions, which is quite interesting. So we do a metaverse transaction, or we do an online transaction, and I get that digital asset. But then I take that digital asset into the real store, and then I redeem that digital asset for a physical good. And in doing that, I'm able to do a pre-sale, raise some capital to go, you know, get a run. They're able to buy and sell and wait, or they can get like early access to their products. And then you do that redemption flow to then burn that NFT when you're then passing that over. And I think that as an opportunity can be quite useful, especially if we think about, I don't know if anyone's ever done any Kickstarter stuff or any of these sort of funding platforms. They hold a lot of that cash until you sort of release their product, and they take a large chunk out of there. And I think, like, you know, using NFTs as a fund making, as a pre-sale mechanism can be really good. And the fact you can access that capital and there's no sort of third party stopping you and forcing you to do some stuff, I think that you'll get to see that more and more.
Oh, really interesting. I did see one of your speeches not that long ago, and what I was really excited about is the fact that anyone around the world can come to a place all together, and hopefully with AI is just growing and getting, you know, more and more stronger. You'll be able to talk to people in different languages. You speak your languages, but it'll be automatically translated. That really caught me the last time I spoke to you, and I went, "Wow, that's amazing."
That's coming very quickly. Like right now, in most of these 3D spaces, it is still, you know, direct communication. But we have got like Google AI technology, which is already reading signs and doing those translations. We've got, you know, speech-to-speech translation. So it won't be long until that's all plugged in as well, taking advantage of resources from around the world. You know, and the international language of English will just open up to more and more people, and being able to then service other markets that English isn't necessarily their primary language. So, you know, if you go to France or Germany and stuff like that, where they're a little bit more particular about their home language, that means that you'll be able to offer support to the entire world with your localized support personnel. So yeah, I think it's going to be massive.
Wow, that's so exciting. Well, thank you for coming in today.
Not a problem. Happy to be here.